go.
Good afternoon, everybody.
All right.
Good afternoon.
It's not like that, mate.
No?
It's a bit like this. Shit.
On the timeline. In fact, it's a single operation.
A buddy of mine who thinks he can cook, and he's brought over, what's this?
Francesco Guccione's Trebbiano, skin contact from the hills of Palermo. Outside.
Talk to me, don't talk to the camera.
Okay.
So we're just having a chat.
We're just chatting.
Yeah. Yeah, where did I put it?
Bottles in the fridge.
Yeah, tell me about it. Palermo. Is that like a fancy way to say a region?
Yeah. Corleone. Famous films like The Godfather were filmed there.
Are you assuming that I know all this?
Francesco Guccione. Still to this day, after 1,000 years, they still call them the Albanians, even though they've been there for over 1,000 years. Good story. Trebbiano is tea.
So when I taste this, I taste lemon. Not stop being a dickhead. This might go onto YouTube.
Lemon.
What do you smell? I smell a lot of alcohol.
Marzipan.
Yeah, marzipan, definitely marzipan.
Sicilian marzipan. Like savoury bay leaf. Like bay leaf and lemon thyme. Really, really savoury.
Yeah, marzipan, definitely. Anyway.
They're not for the faint-hearted, these wines. You like discover more and more about them even a day later. It's not something you drink right now and it gets everything that you want, that it like wants you to see. It's like even a day or two later, it's still changing, expressing differently. But that's what the winemaker taught me. He's like, he had to have a whole heap of wines that were sat out on the bar, and then just looking at them, tasting them like the following day, seeing if they've changed, seeing if they've developed.
Coffee's the same. Because it obviously degusses and then it comes to itself, and then it obviously, it goes stale. But there's a ultimate peak period where a coffee will be the best tasting because it will, degas, it'll decarbonize. But I've never thought you could keep a bottle open for so long.
With the cork in it, as well, you know, my mum used to leave bottles like on top of the fridge that she'd say would get better after weeks of being there open. So wine's always still one of those things that you don't get. It's the beauty's in the eye of whoever's drinking it, I guess.
I don't know.
But to get better, like what's a wine getting better for you? Like this, when we opened it 10 minutes ago, it definitely had
loads of alcohol,
and a little bit of VA as well, like that volatile acidity that even the more that I drink natural wines, or when I started drinking natural wines, I'd go, oh great, oh yeah,
I love natural wines.
That's got some volatile acidity that's not in any other wine. But then the more you drink them, the more you understand them, you start to notice that, all right, this was just a bad winemaker, or this was lack of care in the winemaking process.
It's on the nose as well. I can the alcohol, but again, it's super fruity, natural. Like I love natural wines. This is definitely a pick.
I can't remember exactly how long it was on skins though, but you can see the colour. This
would be a fruit forward. So for me, it would be something like almost closer to a dessert, light dessert, or something really spicy would go well with this.
I think when he served it at his vineyard in the hills there, we had the little chickpea fritters, like little like Sicilian street food. We had little biscotti. There was really beautiful anchovies with tomato. It was
nice.
Anything there though was unbelievable. Like you're on this rooftop that looks straight out over
right.
like hills as far as you can see. That it didn't take Didn't take much to make you like amazed. But yeah, really amazing old vineyard, 1,000 years old.
Well, I don't know how they just keep them going like that. Heritage.
Shepherds. The shepherds look after the roads and the hills as well. It was
Wow.
really an incredible spot to drive out to.
I love how you're talking about this wine. It's similar to how I see coffee, and by that I mean the origin. You're tasting the origin. Yeah, it's cool.
Coffee it works as well, like because you're less inclined to learn about the origin of coffee, I think, than wine. Like a lot of people will talk about the terroir of wine.
Yeah.
And
But
not
not
ever go,
about the
well, I
coffee.
wonder where this coffee comes from. I wonder how it's produced. I wonder, like, you know, the people love getting involved with farm to table and
they don't.
realizing how it's arrived in their cup. More so with wine than coffee, for sure, or tea. Like you don't get the fanatical
Yeah,
stories that go with terroir with coffee at all.
and so
You get a little card maybe when you sit down for an expensive cup of coffee. You get a little card that says the elevation. It says where it was made, who's roasted
Yep.
it, the farmer, micro lot, something.
but I think it's also a lot of people connotate it with it's a wank, like it's a big wank. Like, you know, there's something going on TikTok at the moment about this thing when you ask the chef or the waiter, where's this from? What's its name? All that shit. It's a wank. But it's
Better
true.
than asking the Italian waiter how long they've been in Melbourne or do they have a visa. How long have you been here for? How are you allowed to stay in the country?
True.
Like the conversation that most people working in hospitality want to have is where the wine comes from, or where the coffee comes from, or where the radishes come from, or where the capers come from. Like that's the talking point that most people in the industry want to have, not...
Really? In the industry? I'm saying, I'm debunking, I'm calling bullshit. And I'll tell you why, because it's really important that you understand this. People don't understand the difference between good coffee and good coffee. It's the same thing. It just needs to taste good.
So that's down to the technicality of the roaster, grinder, and barista? Or,
Yeah.
So it could be any bean?
Any bean, any milk. And it tastes good. That's a good coffee.
So everything is down to the technical requirements. It doesn't matter, like in cooking, you can have an amazing tomato and it's grown, it's been cared for, and all you have to do is cut it and maybe put a bit of salt and pepper on it and olive oil.
Right.
That is it.
As opposed to an average stored Aldi, Costco, farm nonna bread. There's a massive difference. But in the coffee world, no one understands the difference. It's just a good coffee, $4.50. I'll pay $6 with the right soy frappuccino latte. And that's bullshit, because I spend months, absolutely months, perfecting a roast. And then I spend months trying to pair it with the right milk, or if it even goes on milk.
But how do you differentiate the perfect roast? What are you're trying to highlight different flavors that you haven't tasted before?
Yeah.
Or you're trying to get different smells that you haven't had before?
Yeah.
And that's through what, trial and error?
Trial
or
and
that's
error.
through...
Because you don't get a book that says, or a sheet from the farmer that says, you must roast it like this. It's like trial and error. And so, again, my roast is like a 12 kilo roaster. I need to minimum roast 4 kilos. And so I actually got a little micro roaster I'll show you. And what I do, it's 100 grams, and then I perfect the roast there, and then I take it to the bigger roaster. Which means, like, you don't know what you're buying until you trial and error it. And so this is what drives me insane. People go, oh, that's a good coffee. I'm like, well, the amount of artisanal expertise to go into trying to get a coffee right, even before it can be dialed into a machine, is like a thing.
Which you could say with fruit as well. Definitely, it's the same thing.
Well, you got to know
cherries and grapes.
You got to know when to pick them. Got to know how to look after them, make them. Anyway, we're getting fucking deep into this shit. But my view after doing it for so long now, Danny, no one understands the difference between a good coffee and a good coffee.
Is that because they're delivering usually just a feeling, like the feeling of now I've got a coffee,
or a space.
Or a space where there's good tunes and there's, a beautifully curved marble table and there's the perfect ceramics made by the ceramics little shop down the road and the latest La Marzocco or the latest San Remo racer. There's whatever's the latest. That's the feeling they've got. So they feel current, or they feel.
As part of the experience.
They feel cutting edge.
Yeah, because they're in this beautifully curated, architected space where when they sit down, it just feels like zing, as opposed to what they're drinking. And I suppose when you couple that with what they're drinking, like how many people have walked past our thing on Saturdays and they've gone, it's really smooth. And it's like, shit, I haven't... Weird. Why is it so smooth? Feel great, as opposed to, so that for me is hitting the spot around the work that's required to be able to deliver a product like that.
So do you think there's corners cut to not deliver the best coffee?
No, I think it's an coffee industry thing. Where for me to get a clientele, and that clientele will be 100 coffees a day, I have to buy certain product to make a 50% margin that will pair well with a particular milk every time. So they're choosing profiles of coffees that are versatile, that will work with many milks, and will have that good flavor component. That good flavor component is vanilla, chocolate, dark chocolate, and as soon as you put it on milk, it just tastes like a milkshake.
So it needs to be something for everyone. That's what most coffee shops are looking for. Here's something for everyone. Here's something for a more unique taste. Here's something for someone who really knows what they want. And
no, there isn't what they want.
That's what
there is a menu. There's two restaurants. There's one. What's the one next to Tesla? Just at Richmond, across the road. Anyway, there's a place there. There's a couple of places where they have a menu that range from $20 a shot all the way down to $4.50 soy latte. But they're like Ethiopian, blah blah blah. Like no one cares or understands the difference. They're just prepared to take a challenge.
They've heard it, and they're thinking that they can try something different. That's the main thing that I get from coffee is that people who want to try something different often. There's serious coffee drinkers that are like, no serious coffee drinkers I know are like, well, I only drink Ethiopian Yogurtchief, or I only drink Rwandan something. Where serious coffee drinkers are always like trying to try something new. Whereas like, maybe wine drinkers, they're like, oh no, I only drink Nerello Mascalese, or no, I only drink Pinot when I go out. I only have Fiano when I'm in Italy, or I only drink champagne at the start of the meal. Like there's people that are set in their ways in, like, I don't know, coffee drinkers, like espresso drinkers with milk. Yeah. And then alternatives that are either trendy for health or for...
Yeah.
They're funny with lactose and coffee.
But ultimately, if it doesn't give them a high and it tastes a certain way going down, that's not a coffee. It's not a good coffee.
If it doesn't taste a certain way.
Yeah. There's a certain taste... there's a certain taste with milk and coffee pairing that if it doesn't hit that spot, it's not a good coffee. And that spot is frothy milk with a caramel-ish chocolate taste that's a good coffee in the morning. And everyone knows what that tastes like.
But for me, you can get that. I don't drink coffee with milk, but for me, you can get that from having a mocha pot on the stove and heating up a small pot of milk until it sprays everywhere and pouring that in. Like that's a good milky coffee for me if I was going to have one.
Right. You're weird.
But that would be like, because then the room smells like the coffee, but a good milk as well. Like to me, that's still not coffee. Like coffee's going to be an espresso or a long black for me.
Yeah, right. And so let's talk about what a perfect espresso is for you. Is it the crema? Is it the heat? Is it the darkness? Is it the
I love
roast?
I love a smooth crema in it. I like it even that I'm told by some baristas to like, oh, if they put a spoon with the coffee and I'm not having sugar, like to be able to stir it and taste it. Like I love that. I love disappearing into a little espresso for about 25 seconds and then just having it. Like that's what I love about espresso. But if someone encourages you to have it a certain way, like I don't mind that either. But like coffee, as far as I didn't drink coffee until I started cooking. I thought it was disgusting. But then 3 months into a kitchen and
you need to stay up
and 8 espresso shots arrive from the bartender who's been out all night that, you know, will exchange that for a snack. Like all of a sudden you're drinking coffee and you need it to start the day. Like before I started cooking, I would have never gone out of my way to even enjoy coffee. Growing up, it wasn't a part in my household. It wasn't.
Wow.
So love coffee came a lot from hospitality, from working and cooking in hospitality.
And it's funny that you should say that because no bartender knows how to make a good coffee. I've had to learn, but it's definitely something at the end of the night. Huh?
They'll tell you they know how to make a good one though. Bartenders who I know some good baristas that are bartenders.
Maybe here, but not in Sydney.
Okay.
They're just like, okay, I'll just grind whatever comes out. That's not measured. There's no recipe, and it's just like press a button and 10 bar, boom. Oh yeah, that'll do.
But that all comes from like the coffee culture of the place. Like if a place stands by their coffee, like not just their roaster, not just their beans, there's someone dialing in that machine daily. I don't dial the machine in at Rena's.
You definitely not.
At all.
Yeah, it drives me insane.
At all.
That machine needs a good clean.
You have the machine.
But we're on to that.
The machine is clean. The machine is beautiful.
No, like
the machine is beautiful.
not like
I like that when you use the grinder, you have to dance into it. That it doesn't work unless you do a little dance into it. You have to put some people that start working at Rena's if they can actually get the grinder to work.
Well, we're upgrading that.
It's a highlight for them because
Mate,
otherwise I have to make all the coffee.
No, it's cool. It's cool. I like your wine. Thanks for coming over, Danny. Like, much respect. But yeah, coffee needs to be given a little bit more love. Where it comes from, how long it takes to grow. Especially different regions have different flavors. The roast is really important to be able to bring out some of that stuff. I mean, effectively, the green bean, after it's processed, it's mummified for 10 years. It just goes like nothing, neutral.
I'm definitely ignorant to it then. So what do you get? Is it 3 or 4 harvests a year from a coffee plant?
It takes 5 years to grow a coffee. A cherry. Which means the way farmers, they rotate their produce. So they're gonna, let's just say from beginning to end, if you have a farm, 5 years.
From planted or from an established tree?
From a plant, it takes 5 years to grow a coffee. To be able to
And then
produce.
how many times are you harvesting a year?
Well, it depends how big is your farm. Because then you would...
No, but one plant, how many does
5 years.
But how many times a year does it fruit? Or is it
Once every 5 years.
No.
I shit you not.
No.
Yes. So if you have
No.
a long-term harvest,
How is there enough demand?
exactly my point. How, and then think about weathering, think about, so as a farmer,
A coffee plant.
so they pick
We need
25%.
we need a guy on Google right now to
25% of the tree is picked, and then it continues to ripen. But if you think
So is
seasonality,
it constantly fruiting?
no,
Really?
Yes.
It has one season. It has a season like a mandarin or like a.
it's not like it's
It has like a stone fruit season,
like every
like
spring.
a nectarine.
Yeah,
It fruits once a year.
if it's right. Otherwise, 5 years.
I don't know about that.
It
Buddy.
takes 5 years to grow a coffee.
I'm gonna fact check that.
Okay, go on. I'm pretty sure I'm right. Yeah, just clip it in.
Don't you have some type of thing hooked up? Wait.
Yeah,
How many
you can just ask the G word.
how many times a year does a coffee
Fruit.
fruit?
I know this is blowing your mind.
Two harvests a year.
But it must be what kind of?
Once coffee plants mature, it will
Yeah.
produce.
How long does it take to mature?
Comes in the cherries, so it leads to two. In some countries, such as Colombia,
Yep. Colombia is one of the biggest producers of coffee.
it can get to know your coffee plant. Millions, we don't yet know how it comes.
To mature, it takes 5 years to mature, 4.5 years to mature. And then if you have enough coffee on the plant, on the vine, on the tree, then yeah, you can take, but you're only taking that whole cut and come back 25%, right? Which means then weathering could fuck up your entire crop.
Once it's 3 to 4 years old, we'll start to get the small flowers. The flowers are where the sexual organs are located. In other words, the leaves and the flowers, blah, blah, blah. 6 to 8 weeks after pollination, the cherries will come.
So
Every cherry finds with. So you only get maximum 2 harvests a year.
if you have a big enough and the environment's right.
So it seems to me that the demand is higher than what can be produced. So how is there still coffee around, or there's just
Exactly.
enough countries producing it?
Well,
We're the biggest countries: Colombia,
you've got Ethiopia,
Indonesia,
Ethiopia, Africa,
India as well is growing.
India,
Yeah.
and the
That's
rest.
about it.
Yeah.
Panama,
Well, Panama, we're talking
Small.
about, again, you're talking about
Brazil.
micro lots
Yeah.
who that take 5 years to grow, and then they, take the best ripe, and then it takes another year or two to get the same, if not, depending on environment. So it's a commodity that no one really understands. And then my point around all of this is, how can Nespresso taste the same every day? It can't.
and how is there range and growth happen so rapidly? When
Right.
To me, it doesn't seem like there's enough beans in the world right
Correct. 100%.
now. So you think there's something else
Yeah.
in the beans?
Well, no, they're just like put on stuff to be able to grow at scale.
I think they're grafted.
No, like put on stuff. So like we've got chickens in hyper fucking growing
Okay.
situations. It's the same thing.
Growth, that's same as tomatoes
So-
in...
Exactly. So like when I buy a bag of coffee, I buy high quality and it lasts me for a while, but I'm buying that entire crop for the year until they have another one. And that's why it costs 10 grand for 60 kilos.
But then who's going to believe, like how you've even said, like, this is the Dom P of coffee.
Yeah.
The difference between the difference between
Yeah.
a Dom P bottle of champagne,
Correct.
which you speak to a sommelier, they're going to say it's a tremendous waste of money. And
Is it?
well, they're going to say, all right, you're buying the brand, you're buying
But it's not. It's actually really good.
it might be really good, but for whatever it retails at 450, 900, 400, minimum 450, $490.
Yeah, you buy
You're
the
paying
brand.
for that. When could you say that a grower champagne that has much, much smaller production and much smaller amount of hands touching it and global reach and all of that, isn't that more exciting and more
Is it?
beautiful to drink than like I would compare the micro lot coffee to grower champagne rather than the micro lot coffee to Dom P.
But Dom P is a micro lot, and they treat it like a micro lot. And every time you open up a Dom P, it's always there's something about it. Like buying a Rolex, you know, not a lot of people like Rolex, but the metals are Rolex metals that they have, they own, that you're getting with that product. So I guess what I'm trying to say is with a certain coffee and a certain terroir and a certain altitude and a soil and experience making that, like that is, and something that's only going to be alive if you keep it alive. Sorry, if you keep it alive for like approximately 4 to 5 years, it will give you fruit that will be top of its game.
But does that start to sound as wanky as what we started this conversation?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. But my point earlier was people don't know good versus good. They just go, oh yeah, that tastes good. So I'm like, where there are people out who are just like, okay, I do want to expand my palate, the wank factor, and you go, try this, and you're like, ooh, why is it so smooth? Why does it taste like you know, that funky coffee at Natural I had last Saturday? That was just extraordinary. It tastes like Grenache. It's a bit dark, and it's just like a big punch. I think your palate, in terms of that Italian thing, I think that was a good profile. But if you put it on milk, it'd still be a good coffee, but you wouldn't get the nuances of that.
And you wouldn't get people going, wow.
No, they would. It's just a good coffee. The range of good coffee is in there. Because I made the same coffee this morning on some skim milk, and it just blew me away. Because like, yeah, it's a good coffee.
What have you got in the roast now?
We got the same coffee. It's the pink Barty.
The Barty pink?
Yeah, the Ethiopian Bomba.
What does Bomba mean in Ethiopia?
It's the region in Ethiopia. It's a micro lot. Yeah, man.
Yeah, especially with the wank factor, you don't want to have too much of that happening
Still going.
in coffee.
Well, this is the solution we need to try and solve
Or
for,
you
Danny.
do want it, like, and maybe you just only want that then, because like even the place that I popped into earlier, it is all coffee wank fest. All right, we're serving owner coffee. It's
Yeah, but it's not. So here's another thing I'm going to debunk for you. Now, we've talked about terroir and seasonality and all that stuff, right? As a
I
commodity.
shouldn't say a wank fest because it is someone's
No, but wait,
craft
wait,
and
but wait. I'm going to blow something up for you again. It's not about the brand, the roaster. It's about the region.
of the coffee.
Wine is all about regional and who it's from, where it is. Champagne's the same.
Yep.
Coffee isn't. It's like own a couple of farms, but owner is saying, buy our coffee because we're a roaster. They're not saying this coffee comes from
Our farm.
that farm and we produced it this way and this is what you're going to taste. It's owner is the brand.
But so they've mastered the craft of roasting, they think.
But anyone can roast.
Not well. Not well. That's
It's not like you
But that's what
say.
you're saying the difference is. Like this,
I'm saying that roasting isn't that hard. It's like cooking a steak. Some people can, and some people can't. Some people bodge it up, and some people still will be happy to eat it.
did you read that one that I sent? It was really good.
What's this?
This was the...
Oh, right, yeah. I think that's wank. Because the demographics here, no idea, loads of idea, and still no idea until you're a roaster industry, right? You're in this demographic here going, oh, that's a good coffee. So, like, my point is, that's a wank.
But it's also passing on that information that you'll stand and chat
You'll
with.
never understand what that actually means. But why is it different? This is my point. Why is it different when you, like, I have no idea what you've explained to me with this. Don't know where it is. It tastes good. It's, you know, I've got a fairly refined palate and I know what I like, but I'm not connected with this label. I'm not connected with anything that's on here.
No, I think his stuff as well, because it is probably a noble family. They have their family crest,
Yeah.
which to him is enough. It represents nobility. It represents where they're from, which is a wank as well. But, you know, they're so connected with where they come from and the land, and like that's all that they can
That's
really...
marketing,
Yeah.
right? I'm saying let's remove the marketing and let's get people tasting stuff. That's it. The
But
end.
then it's still just personal. It's I like it, I don't like it.
But that's okay. Then we have a variety.
How do you delve in deeper to get someone to taste something rather than just say they like it or don't like it?
That's the problem we're solving. And we're not doing it because we want their money. We want to create a movement on, like, your tasting menu. I know that, you know, you say there's a price point for your tasting menu. I'm saying that's good, but the charm about Rena's is because they get fed differently every time they come. I understand there's money to be made, but I'm saying every time you come, it's a different experience.
Well, like seasons change, the food has to reflect seasonality, or
No, but
you're caught you're caught having I don't know, I've spoken about this so much with people I work with and people I've worked for, and like if you have an asparagus salad on the entire year just because the Pattersons that are your regular customers only like to have a poached egg with asparagus all year round
With truffle.
every single time they come in, what is the point? You've got nothing to look forward to. You're buying, you know, asparagus for $52 a box from Mexico in the off season, and you're still charging $25 for...
That is a problem, because you are saying that if I don't serve
the seasons don't exist.
that if I don't serve that asparagus, they're not going to come back.
Yeah.
They're going to find another place.
They might fly to Mexico.
Yeah.
and not come here.
But that's the point. And so we need to stop that.
But it gives something to look forward to as well. So then the second that the asparagus season hits, you know, instead of having these tiny little, you know, pencil thin asparagus that are flown in from Mexico, grown in, you know, whatever conditions that, and you know, they all come in these same little boxes with little purple elastic bands, and you're like, oh, amazing. But then what happens when spring hits in Victoria and you've got like fat asparagus and the white
From
season
your
hits
parents'
and the
farm,
fat ones start arriving from Tasmania? That's what people then get excited about. Even in Italy, when I was living in Tuscany, I thought it was weird. I was like, oh, they're having a sagra. So it's a festival, and it's just for porcini.
Oh, yeah, wow.
Or just for radicchio, this certain radicchio. This was in Veneto.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, let's go to the sagra, and you're thinking, there's going to be other stuff. There is just radicchio There's radicchio
love
on
a good
focaccia.
radicchio.
There's radicchio on risotto. There's radicchio with pasta. There's radicchio salads.
Right, wow.
But the entire sagra is just that. But in Melbourne, you go to a night noodle market or a winter market or something. There's stuff from everywhere, from every culture, from food that's not in season, food that's non-reflective of where we are. But that's something that's like, for me, I love about Melbourne. But then also from a food perspective, there's something really beautiful about it's just chestnuts. This whole place today is just chestnuts. It's just mushrooms. It's just porcini. It's just truffle.
50 different ways,
Yeah. That's the thing about like the sagras in particular in Italy that I thought like blew my mind.
Wow.
Like, and as well in Melbourne, you suggest that idea. They'll say, but not everyone likes radicchio. We're not. How are we going to have a whole festival of just radicchio when not everyone likes it? What are the people that don't like radicchio?
Don't care.
They're not coming to the radicchio festival. They can stay at home and play Call of Duty or something, but they're not coming.
So yeah, you're hearing me, right? Which means same with coffee. Seasonality. Crops don't make the same coffee every season. Mm-hmm. Vintage.
So vintages can be a thing as well.
Absolutely.
But they won't last like wine does.
Green coffee will last 10 years.
Okay.
It will diminish in quality over time, depending how you store it. But
is that something you've experimented with? Like
I've
bought this micro lot and it's amazing.
Yeah, I have.
And does it get... So what are you testing?
But
what are you
gets
testing?
Lighter.
So you're testing if it's roast better after being putting away from years, or you're testing if it holds its value or if it goes up in value?
No, it diminishes in quality.
Okay.
Like, just call it taste.
Yeah.
But it's my job to be able to roast it differently under different conditions, like humidity and so forth, to be able to get the same taste out of it. Like a profile is a profile. It's just going to lose its level of intensity.
So when you get raw beans that arrived, the research that you've done is on the terroir, because I imagine you haven't been to all the places that you're buying coffee from.
Yeah.
Do you have a better connection with ones that you've visited as to ones that you're like, I've heard really great things about this place and I've purchased it?
Yeah.
Is it sort of like the romance of wine?
Oh, I love it. So like, again, it's like buying a really good beef, like a really good T-bone. You know when you get one and when you rest it, when you char grill it, when you know how long to char grill it, you know how long to rest it, how much to salt it, and when to cut it, and what pieces to cut, where you're just going to be like, mind explosion. That shit, right? It's exactly the same.
And you get that with places like what?
Me not going, but actually seeing the product. I mean, going to Origin is extraordinary because you get to meet the farmer and their story and all that stuff, which is really cool. You get a lot of connection out of that. And then bringing it back to the other side of the world and being able to go, I now feel like I'm back there. That's what coffee does to me.
That's exactly how, especially
Type of food
and wine as well. Like I'll
yeah.
try and replicate a dish that I had. You know, Italian kids or whatever, they want to taste that same little sandwich that their nonna cooked, or the meatballs, the same texture that their nonna cooked. But for coffee, I don't know, like you don't get the connection to the grower. You don't have, because they probably don't even roast. Does the grower there have do they roast their coffee beans and enjoy their coffee on their plot, or?
Well, yes. Let's just say yes, right? Coffee farmers are just like potato farmers. They literally grow their crop. They've been doing it for gazillion years, and they give it to the guy that goes and processes it and sells it. But they don't know what it's worth.
So then, you know,
it's like your nonna growing tomatoes. How does she know? She's been growing the same tomatoes, same process for the last 50 years.
But that's to eat them and to feed the family and to make pasta sauce. They know the whole process. Is coffee farmers have that process as well? Do they go to their kids, hey, Papa just grew the best coffee beans. It's a micro lot. They're going to be serving it in the most famous coffee shops in Melbourne. Barty's just bought our entire lot. You know, are they like, let's sit down and crack out the espresso machine in the house and it says Papa makes it this way because it's the best?
I don't think so. I think it's just literally like, it's just something I can sell and make a livelihood.
And what's that compared to, like, even Coke or, like, you know, farmers like cocaine farmers aren't freaking ever going, hey, have a taste of this, guys. This is incredible. We're doing God's work here.
No.
Or
no.
Yeah, what?
It's literally, this is the only thing I have to be able to survive. And so I've been selling it to the guy down the street for whatever a bag. Let's say $5.50, but that guy's worked out, fuck, this is from Panama and it's a geisha and it's a super rare commodity and this thing is only harvested once every 4 years. I know that this thing's like out of control. I can sell it for $100 a kilo. $100 a fucking 50 grams.
And the farmer might not know that.
No.
Or doesn't know that.
No.
Doesn't know
They've
that.
just been doing their thing. So I've got coffee that when Jen was home, I was like, it's one of her favourites.
So do we need to go tell little Pasquale in the hills of Panama that he's getting jibbed on the...
Yeah.
So who's the middleman?
Like the middleman makes the money.
Fuck.
That's the problem. As opposed to like a champagne or a good bottle of wine.
So that's odd because Champagne worked it out. They know that they are selling the premium product.
Yeah.
So you're saying that the most premium coffee farmers on the planet are not getting more than $5 a kilo.
Well, they're slowly understanding that their product is worth something. And so
more than what they thought. Exponentially more than what they thought.
So this movement that I'm trying to, like, and I know it's going to be past my time, but this movement is, with the tech experience that I have, I want to go and help farmers and dial up those farms with data and digital stuff.
That's right, yeah.
So my objective is, if we were to put weathering sensors into the soil, into the wind, into the water, whatever, right? And over a period of time, we collect all this data. Over 5 years, let's say, we would know we'd have, or 10 years, we'd have 2 or 3 crops. We would know what crop's going well, what's not, and then we can demand a price.
And that's only through data that they probably collect instinctively just from having done it for so long.
Yeah.
Without having to, like any farmer who's been working the same plot of land for a certain amount of time.
It's going to be a good
They'll look
year.
out there and go, oh yes, this is happening right.
Yeah, the tomatoes are going to be amazing this year because the bees have done their job and, you know,
the wind hasn't come.
Yeah, all that
no
stuff.
No frost when there's flowers.
But imagine having all of that data over a course of like 50 years and it's passed on, and then you know that that's going to be a good year because the data says.
And then you just think that data and tech can easily deliver that to the farmer, or that's for the purchaser?
To the farmer, to be able to price their product.
Okay. So the middleman's going to hate you.
Yeah.
The farmer's going to love you.
Yeah. I'm going to cut out all the middleman. I want to be the roaster, and I want to go to the farmers. The farmers explaining to me that the data says this crop's going to be amazing, and you can sell this Dom P equivalent of coffee. And so I've been in contact with a couple of like farms in Nepal, and they're like this, we don't know how to make our coffee go really well. And I'm like, but your coffee's amazing. No one wants to buy their coffee because it's, again, so rural. People don't understand how to. They've been doing a certain thing for such a long time, but because it's a certain region and it's not like affluent or whatever, that people don't buy coffees. But if we were to dial up farms a certain way and teach farmers how to demand a certain price point for a crop because of certain characters in the data, Like, game changer.
So going back to terroir though, wouldn't a place where the air is pure and the altitude is high and all of that, wouldn't that already be a reason why someone would want the beans?
It's still touch and go. It's still understanding what the farmer is using or doing to keep those crops alive.
So in non-organic practices, or
I'm saying non-organic practices, the likelihood of a crop going good over a period of 5 years is like highly unlikely.
because of things like the rust that's
Everything,
sweeping around the world.
Yeah.
That
The water, the weathering, whatever.
So do you see coffee as, sounds bleak, but do you see coffee in our future?
No, because it's going to get more expensive because of the middleman demanding a certain price for it, which means like I collect coffee, like records, which means I'll have stores of coffee that I'll be able to release that for people. After it's all gone, I'll have coffees.
You say the middleman's doing that now.
Yeah. Storing coffee to be able to sell it or sell that taste again. So could you imagine coffee that doesn't taste like chocolate ever again? And I've got the last
Do you
bag
know
of that.
do you have any idea of the surplus that's left or what's hoarded right now compared to what's available?
Yeah, right.
Do you?
No.
Does anyone?
But, you
Can
know,
we go meet that person?
So there are plenty of big coffee merchants around the world who are just
hoarding.
storing, like any other commodity, like what is it?
Gold, silver.
No, like maple syrup.
Yeah.
There's a whole thing about maple syrup. So like,
Because even in Australia, growing up, you never realised that there was a difference between maple syrup and golden syrup.
yeah, that's right.
Golden syrup's just
In Canada, and there's only a region that does it.
yeah, and golden syrup's what, made from freaking corn.
Yeah, corn.
Like it's just high fructose sugar.
Yeah, so yeah, you're right. Coffee, a certain taste at a certain profile won't exist because of weathering and weathering, global warming and all that sort of stuff. Because they're like, again, terroir. There's a certain environment that you're tasting, and when that environment disappears, those coffees won't be able to be grown as quickly or be the same.
We're jumping around a heap.